You're listening to the Live Free podcast. I'm your host, Christine, certified life coach, pain to power mentor, and creator of Embody You Mindset Mastery School. I'm here today to discuss living life after disease, disaster, or adversity, to discuss living life fully once again, a life of hope, peace, and resiliency, a life fully embodied. I utilize the lessons that I learned going through not one, but two primary cancers. I'm here today to guide you to the life of your dreams, turn your pain into power, and lead you back to yourself. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Live Free podcast. So today I am meeting with Amber from Confidently Amber. We are talking about human design. Human design is taking the world by storm. It has become a huge proponent in my business, in many of my students' lives as a result, because I love it so much and I just do not know enough about it yet. So I have pulled in Amber to talk about human design, to talk about her coaching business and how she utilizes it in her own life and how it can help you too. So I'm super looking forward to popping into this interview and seeing what you think. Enjoy. Okay, so welcome Amber to the podcast. I'm looking so forward to diving in with you and talking a little bit about human design. Amber is a life coach, just like me, working for women and helping with confidence. So we're super aligned that way. She owns Confidently You and has this beautiful added bonus of working with human design within her coaching. And that makes a huge, huge difference. So I want to get started talking a little bit about why knowing your human design can shift things for you. So welcome, Amber.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, as we already talked about before we got started recording here. I love collaborating with fellow women who have the same sort of aligned mission as me. And we did your human design read a couple of days ago, Christine, so you got to learn a little bit more about yourself. And that's ultimately the biggest thing that human design offers to you. Is it offers you this incredible, highly accurate tool that helps you connect with your authentic self. And self-awareness is the ultimate superpower, because you are only as limited as your awareness of your personal power. So if you think of it like Disney's Hercules, right? So at the beginning of the movie, Hercules is a misfit. He doesn't fit in with anybody. He's like clearly way stronger than everybody, and everybody kind of shames him and makes him feel bad, and he feels small, right? But then when Hercules discovers that he's a god, it's like, whoa, all of a sudden he has this permission slip to step into his power and cultivate his skills and really ultimately fulfill his purpose of being a hero. Right? So that is, my nice little metaphor of like what human design does for you. It helps you hone in on what your unique skills are, because, Einstein said so beautifully, or this quote is often attributed to Einstein, as saying that, if you measure the intelligence of a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it's going to live its whole life thinking it's stupid, right? You are an individual. We are all individuals, and we all have unique skills. And when we try to fit inside the box of what society tells us to do, we actually limit ourselves. We silence ourselves. We silence our personal power. And so it's my mission with human design is to help women actualize their true potential, feel confident in their true potential by remembering how to follow their intuition and connect with their authenticity.
I love that word, remembering. going back to before the societal view said that you weren't enough in this way, or that you were too sensitive, or you were too whatever it is that is your superpower, as you explained with Hercules. And so it got dumbed down, you took it away, you became a shadow version of your own human design. And then you move forward into life wondering over and over again why you can't climb that tree, why you're the stupid one. And then we get in this shame loop, right? Which brings us to nothing but more pain. And so what you're really doing with human design is you're breaking it down to a place where people can say, oh my gosh, this thing that I've always felt so shameful about is in fact my superpower. So what is kind of the background? Like, is it, I know that at first I thought it was astrology, and then I thought it was this, let's kind of get like a little bit of a history on what human design is.
Absolutely. So human design is a synthesis of ancient human observation and modern science. So those ancient forms of human observation are going to be astrology. They're going to be the Hindu chakra system. When you look at a human design chart, it strongly resembles the Hindu chakra system. It's the Kabbalah tree of life, the Taoist I Ching, these old ancient human forms of observation of energy mixed in or synthesized with quantum physics, quantum mechanics, biomechanics, genetics. All of this fascinating information is brought together to paint this highly accurate and highly individualistic picture of who you are. It tells you hundreds of details about yourself. And what you do with this information is it tells you how you personally access your energy versus how you share your energy with others, where you broadcast energy and where you are meant to receive energy. So a lot of the things that we perceive as quote unquote weaknesses in ourselves, these are actually areas in which you are designed to connect with others. It's where you are meant to receive energy from other people and to gain support. I like to think of it as like that's someone else's dharma. Right. And so I'm here to do my dharma. I have my strengths and somebody else has theirs. And we're going to have an energy exchange in which I provide my gift and they give me theirs. Right. So, and that's just like one aspect of it. So, I guess where it came from, where human design came from, is there's this man named Ra Uru. He lived his life for something like, 55 years, living a normal, regular life, what we consider in the traditional sense. And all of a sudden he decided to uproot his life and go on an adventure to Ibiza in Spain. And all of a sudden he had a profound experience where he was approached by what he calls the voice. And this voice said to him, "Are you ready to get to work?" And he stayed up for 8 days and 8 nights and channeled the human design system and created this system that tells us how to connect with our authenticity and to know what is our personal inner authority, or in other words, what is our intuition sound like? Because not everybody has that gut instinct, much like we talk about, I don't have that gut instinct. Christine, you don't have that gut instinct. You're an emotional authority, and so am I. So, to learn that about myself was like, oh, that's why I felt so disconnected from my intuition, is because I was trying to follow the gut instinct that everybody talks about, but I don't have that. And it was leading me into situations that were misaligned for me and leaving me feeling depleted, spending money in areas that I shouldn't have been, finding myself in misaligned relationships, all of these mishaps. Had I known how to properly follow my intuition, my life would have looked a lot different.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. I love that that you said that you don't have a gut instinct, because I've said that 100 times. Like, I'm like, what is this gut instinct people keep talking about? and then come to find out, it's because I'm not defined in that way. Mm-hmm. So for the super newbies who have never heard about it, what are, and I want a really layman's version, how many designs are there?
and what are kind of the main aspects. So I'm thinking about the designs, the decision authority, and maybe that's it. Yeah. What are
Okay.
some ideas on how human design works and how it can help you?
Absolutely. The first thing that I want to say before I explain all of that is if you were to pause this episode right now and go look up your chart, you're going to get hit with a word that tells you your energy type. And that energy type is either going to say manifestor, projector, generator, manifesting generator, or reflector. But I invite you rather to look past what that label tells you, because as Christine learned in our human design read together, Christine is a manifestor, but she's a very unique kind of manifestor. She's actually a projected manifestor, which is a very different energy dynamic versus when you only explore manifestor. And wouldn't you say it's true that when I introduced that projector aspect to you, like things started to click with you more?
It so did. Yeah, it really did. And then, and I talked with my projector friend afterwards, and I was like, girl, like, this is why none of this made any sense. And she was like, yes, exactly. She's like, you're way more like me than what you described. So yeah, it was really, really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So you are more than your type, and human design is meant to be a highly individualistic experience. And if you limit yourself to one of the 5 types, well, then all you become is 1 in 5, right? But you're not 1 in 5, you're 1 in a billion, because there's over a billion different chart combinations plus conditioning on top of that. So this is really the balance of nature versus nurture. So you asked, how many designs are there? Well, there's over a billion different chart combinations that a person can have, and there's 5 types. Now, to keep things simple and to, make it in, you said layman's terms, so I like that. So we'll in layman's terms talk about what are these 5 types and what is that umbrella term mean for you, right? Of course, when we dive into your chart, it's so much more than that. Especially if you are a projector, because projectors have the largest different number of combinations of what it can be a projector. There's actually 3 subcategories of projector. But anyways, yeah. So if you're a projector and you're listening to this, don't allow that to limit you, because you are very complex. Anyways, let's talk about it. So I like to think of the 5 energy types as the different roles that people play when you're building a house. So we'll start with manifestors, because all of these roles play an important role together. We all have our roles in society. Like I said, we all have our strengths, right? So manifestors, I like to think of manifestors as the architect. They have the overall vision. They can like really see, okay, I want to create this. And so they're really good at like starting things, putting things into action. The skill of the manifestor is to be the fire starter. They initiate everything for the rest of the collective. And out of all of the types, it is most vital for manifestors to follow their intuition, because they play that role of starting things for everyone else. So yeah, they're the fire starters, and architects, they don't build the house, right? They just get it into action, right? Like they start the project, but they don't build it. They're going to have the vision, and they're probably going to be there along the way. They're going to be checking in, seeing like, oh yeah, that's looking like my design. That looks like the vision, right? Oh, we got to tweak this. Great. Okay. So, but they're not going to finish it, and they're likely not going to do all of the work that is fueling that process, right? That's when we're going to move on to the generators of the world. The generators are the builders and the creators. Now, there are 2 types of generators. There's either a pure generator or a manifesting generator. I'm going to explain pure generator first, even though manifesting generators come next, but MGs, I'm going to call them MGs. MGs are a blend between a manifestor and a generator. So to explain a generator, you can think of them as like the specialized tradesperson in the building of the house. So these are the electricians, these are the plumbers, these are the roofers. They've mastered some sort of a skill, and they're able to do it very efficiently, very quickly, and for long periods of time. I don't know about you, but when I think of tradespeople, I think of them working 8+ hours a day, right? Like never working less than 8 hours a day. So they have this creative life force energy in order to build work and family in the 3D material plane. Generators build their confidence by building in their external reality. And so when we look at manifesting generators, or MGs, they're that blend. So they have a little bit of initiating power, but the majority of their skill lies in like how the generator does the building and the creating. But having that ability to initiate gives them an edge that a normal generator doesn't have, which means that they can work faster, and they have shortcuts to mastery. So they find themselves kind of being the jack of all trades, but master of none. So these are like the general contractors when building a house. They don't have any like, you know, red seal plumbing or red seal electrician, but they can do a wide variety of skills and do it very quickly and learn very quickly and overcome plateaus in learning very quickly. But they're so multi-passionate, they too may not bring tasks to completion as well, kind of like the manifestor does, but they can work for long periods of time like the generator does. So that's how they're that blend.
Got it.
And next we have projectors. So I like to think of projectors as like the site supervisor. So they're not in there like getting their hands dirty and like doing the grunt work. They're there to guide the energy, the efficiency, the work of those that are very much so involved with the building and creation. So they're here to be a guide. And, you know, outside of our house analogy, this is going to look like, you know, future leaders. Projectors are the newest of all of the human design types. They didn't start being born until 1781. Projectors are paving the way for what it really looks like to be a leader. Because the way that the projector does that is that they literally sample the energy of other people. They get a flavor of it. And because they sample that energy, and so they really see people, that is how they are an effective guide. It's not an authoritarian type of leader. It's a guiding leader. It's like, no, I see you, boo. I got you. Let's do it this way. And so we guide this way. Barack Obama and Michelle Obama are both projectors. So I think that kind of paints this idea of like, they're not authoritarian. They're like that gentle guiding sort of leader energy. Yeah, so last is reflectors. The beautiful, beautiful reflectors are the mere 1% of the population, and they are here to be a karmic mirror for the collective. When they're highly individualistic people, and they're meant to be the center of a community. So I like to think of the reflector as being like the home inspector. So they come and check on the house, like, what did we do right here? What did we not do right? So the reflectors are here to literally reflect the health of the community back to the community. So giving that feedback about how are we progressing as a society? Are we evolving, or are we, you know, taking a step backwards, right? So they're these highly intuitive people. Actually, Michael Jackson was a reflector. And you really see this like in his music. So, you know, this gentle approach to telling us like what we're not doing right and what we are, like in that song, it don't matter if you're black or white, or like that, that Earth song, you know, like talking about, you know, what have we done to the world and stuff, like this gentle approach of telling us what we're doing well and what we're not. So yeah, that is like kind of the overall super entry or basic info of like these 5 different types.
And I love how you preface it by saying this isn't your box. Like, unlike, and I'm not, you know, throwing shade on astrology by any means, because it is also very in depth once you actually get a proper reading. But generally people say, I'm a Pisces. And then they say, I am this, and this is who I am. And you either identify with it or you don't. And I love how both human design and astrology, when you look deeper, you see that there are so many different combinations and so many different answers to the question, who am I? And you know, having that proper reading is really where things start to open up for you, because and yeah, I'm thinking I'm moving away from definitions now, because that was such a beautiful explanation, and I love how you explained it. And it might be another day when we dive deeper into the rest of it. But I wanted to say that for myself anyway, I had a belief that I'm a manifester, so thus I must be this. And there were parts of it that I was like, I don't know if that describes me, and then in our reading, you and I talked about how I had this projector energy within my manifester, and then it all made sense, right? So yeah, I absolutely love the reading that we did. I think it made a huge difference for everything in my life. And of course, now you're the gals that you work with and your clients and customers, they've had an opportunity to go through a lot of this human design and make a huge change for them too. So how has it changed your life? That's what I'd love to finish off with.
Yes. So before human design, I was chronically burnt out. So I found it at kind of the perfect time. I had just started my business a few months prior. I was already experiencing burnout for trying to force my energy in a way that didn't feel good, but in a way that I was conditioned to use it. And in the past, I had a job where I was 2 jobs and I was working 70 hours a week. And I'm a projector by human design. I don't have that sacral energy. I don't have that generating energy that keeps me going all day long. So instead, I borrow it from other people. And when I do that, I can seemingly work faster, work harder than the generators of the world. I kind of morph into a super generator, but then as soon as I leave their aura, it's like, boom, crash. So I'd be driving home from work and it's like, oh, I am so tired, right? Like, how is it that everybody else still has the energy to go home and do stuff?
Yeah. I understand you. I'm a manifestor. I'm like, I get it.
Yeah. So I was very burnt out, felt disconnected from my intuition, jumping into decisions that were misaligned for me. I'm an emotional authority by human design, which means that, unlike that gut instinct that's designed to be spontaneous, I, on the other hand, am designed to be deliberate and to take time making my decisions. And so, man, had I known that before, and also that my emotions don't have to have a cause, holy, if somebody would have told me that when I was 14 years old, that it's okay to feel melancholy and that it doesn't have to have a cause and that it's totally healthy for you to feel that way, like my mental health journey would have looked totally different. And, if I would have had that proper guidance on how to, not only have that self-awareness, but also have the tools to manage the information that I get from this sense of self-awareness. And so ultimately, after discovering human design and experimenting with it, because you can't just learn about human design in order to understand it, you have to actually implement it, integrate it, embody it into your life in order for you to truly understand its benefits. So how my life is different now is, well, I now know my manifestation style. I know, I'm a passive, non-specific manifester. In the past, I was trying to get too specific, try to force details, trying to do things every day to affirm my manifestations when I don't operate like that. And so it was so validating to hear, like, okay, my moon rituals that I do once a month that I feel really called to do, that's actually correct for me. Now I can do that more intentionally and do it with more power and have more confidence behind it. Or like also learning about, how I effectively ground myself. Well, the way that I ground myself is through Gate 41, which is all about moving emotional energy. So literally moving my body in order to process emotions. Again, if only my 14-year-old self had known that, right? That would have totally changed my life. Knowing my intuition, knowing how I communicate with people, knowing what is my authentic voice, how do people connect with me, knowing how I'm conditioned, knowing like, oh gosh, I could keep going on and on and on about all of these like pieces of information that, 2 years ago was, no, not quite 2 years ago, a year ago, 14 months ago, like, wow.
So much has changed in such a short time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Oh, that is beautiful, Amber. I absolutely love that. And that's what we all want. We all want to get to this place where we understand our authentic selves, where we feel good in this home, that is us. Mm-hmm. And I love that human design has been super instrumental, among other things, I'm sure. Since you were 14, you've learned a lot, and all of those things have kind of culminated to this person that you are today, which is vibrant and really very a force. So that is just beautiful. So how do people find you if they want to get a reading or if they want to work with you? How do they connect with you?
So based on feedback from others, I'd say people's favorite way of connecting with me is through my podcast. So my podcast is called the Confidently You podcast. And in that podcast, I dive deep into, specific aspects about your human design, talk about manifestation and money a lot, as well as unconscious programming, because that's another huge influence that human design helps you with, is to deprogram and rewire your unconscious. So I talk about that a lot in my podcast, and as well as you can connect with me on Instagram at confidently.amber. My website is confidentlyu.ca, and I do offer human design reads, as well as one-on-one coaching sessions, because as I mentioned earlier, human design is not about getting information, it's about integrating it. And I find that, when you get that one-on-one time, that high quality, highly focused energy, which is my projector energy showing through, that's my skill, is being very focused. When you get that high quality focused energy one-on-one with me, I can really help you embody these tools instead of just trying to soak up information. That's something our school system has taught us, is how many facts can I take in, but not actually show us how to use those facts in your life, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And lastly, I have a group coaching container called Confident by Design, where that will be launching again in May. And we dive deep into you for 6 months. So we have 6 months of group coaching, and I also implement tools of following your menstrual cycle. So our calls happen in a period of 3 weeks on, 1 week off, to rest for menstruation, and, really helping you get or teach yourself how to get in flow with your energy, because your energy is your superpower. And it's all about just cultivating that awareness. And with that self-awareness, you can also bypass the harsh side effects of conditioning as well. So it's all about having that self-love, self-awareness, and connecting with your authenticity. So I love working with women long-term and getting in groups, so we can also simultaneously heal that witch wound as well.
Beautiful. Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for all of this beautiful knowledge. And I look forward to continuing to connect. And thank you so much for being on the pod.
Thank you so much for having you. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening. If you found expansion with this last episode, then that means that others will too. And the best way to get the word out about the podcast is by leaving a review. I would be so grateful if you could leave me a review and let me know how you felt about the podcast. Included in the show notes will be everything that we talked about today, including all of my transformative programs. Change is just on the horizon, my friend.